with, good morning Jody, is these beautiful lights that brighten up everything that cause a ring in glasses, so it's a real problem. But anyway, I'm here. Good morning to everyone, and I'm just going to start the I've already got some people in. Did I have to let you in? No. Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to screen share my page and see if I can find it. And I'm going to start from the very start. Start from the beginning. Awesome. Wait a minute. Not if I'm going to push the button the wrong way. So, this is my third, morning webinar, weekly webinar, and I'm still a little bit nervous. I don't know why I'm nervous when I do lives all the time, but anyway, I'm a little bit nervous, and today we're going to be talking about releasing the past and nourishing the future, and what's the difference between meditation, visualization, past life regression, quantum jumping, and multidimensional healing. So I just recently did a meetup on this online, and I didn't put in multidimensional healing at the time. So if you're watching on the live, I can see I've got a couple of people on there. I'd love for you to say good morning and hello and where you're watching from. That would be awesome. And if you're watching on the webinar, the same. I would love for you to say hi. I can see a few people have started the chat. Good morning, Brenda. Good morning, Diane. So let's jump into it because we've only got half an hour. This is short and sweet. And just giving you a little bit of a taste of what the difference is between the different types of modalities, right? So let's start a little bit with who I am. For those that don't know me, my name is Elizabeth Eleanor, and I've been I was a remedial massage therapist for 20 plus years. I've actually taken that hat off now, and especially with COVID, it's not something that I'm doing at the moment. I lived in Far North Queensland for 17 years, and then I moved down to Sydney to be closer to family and look after and support my mum and all of those things. But I discovered healing and energy about 18 years ago, and it wasn't something that good morning, Elaine. Nice to see you on here. It wasn't something that I looked for. It was something that found me. And I basically had myself wake up, as they say in spiritual language. I woke up accidentally, had no idea what I was doing. None of my friends that I knew had any experience with spirituality, and I didn't even want to talk to them because it was all woo-woo, you know. It was all this weird stuff, and people that do that you have a different opinion of sometimes, right? So good morning, Christy and Christine. And so anyway, I'd only just discovered myself. I went to a psychic who I was not forced, but I went to shut this woman up and woke up, as they say, and then she wouldn't let me come back, even though I've got energies coming all up, around me, and it was a little bit challenging. Not long after that, I went to a workshop where the woman was doing past life regression, and basically she was writing a book, and I found myself being mentored for 7 years, and literally every single weekend, Nellie, Christmas and stuff like that, we didn't do it, and I went down to Sydney every year for the family. But Nellie, every single weekend, I was being put through this process and stripped of all the layers of dynamics that were, blocking my energy. And I'll go into that a little bit further as we go along. But through that process, discovered that I actually had the ability to do past life regressions myself. And now, after 15 years, 15 years, I have been an energy healer and a spiritual mentor. And I basically take women through, I do work with some men, but mainly I work with women, and I take people through the process to release the energy that's holding them back. So we'll talk about that a little bit further as we go along. So what are these different modalities, right? Meditation, visualization, past life regression, quantum jumping, not everyone's heard of that one, and multidimensional healing. And there are so many other different modalities that are out there. I don't know if Elaine's still watching, but he works with people as well. He's got a very strong psychic ability, and so works with people to support them to understand themselves and release things and talk to the other side, if I'm not incorrect, Elaine. So what are the different modalities? We're going to go through that process and we'll discover, and I'll quickly talk about the difference. So meditation is something that most people know, right? Most people that are spiritually aware or on that journey have had some experience with meditation. But the main purpose to meditation is to still the mind. We've often got a monkey mind. Our mind is constantly working overtime, is always on, is always talking to us, and whether we're listening or not, and telling us whether it's safe or not in life, whether to do something or not, is always making judgments about our and observations about what's around us, and depending on the person's upbringing, can be very detrimental to moving and spiritually growing or personally developing, right? But meditation is all about reflection and to relax the body. So it's also about trying to find oneness with the source energy. So there's heaps of different forms of meditation. I've done just general meditation. There's guided meditation, which is similar to visualization, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And when I was in my 20s, I had the opportunity to do a 10-day Noble Silence Vipassana retreat, which was absolutely amazing. And through that process, I'm sure I discovered energy a lot deeper, and I didn't realize that at the time, but through that process, the body awareness of energy and what's around me came into more tangible flow with me. So meditation can be as easy as taking a nice deep breath in and then breathing out and just grounding into the body. So finding ourselves in a place where we're more aligned with what's going on in our environment, what's happening in our world. Instead of being out there in the ethers, we're more in our system and we can access the information that is around us. So meditation can be as easy as that, and it can be as deep as going through, a 10-day Noble Silence or a 30-day Noble Silence, being a monk. Meditation is all about stilling the mind. So visualization, a lot of people use creative visualization or visualization, what's the word for it, meditation. They sort of combine them. So the main purpose of visualization is to create and to envision. So it's where meditation is stillness and oneness and bringing us into a place of internal peace. Visualization, the energy is more about putting energy out. So it's more about creating a better future and a brighter future. Is about connecting with the third eye energy and actually visualizing what's to come. So being positive, using positive language, and creating energy that is creating rather than being still. So most people visualize even if they're unaware of it, and if you're not actively being part of that visualization, then your past is creating your future for you. So this is where it's really interesting. If you're not aware of your thoughts, then however you have been in the past, so we are generally wired to have a negative feel to us because our amygdala or our reptilian brain is still looking for the tiger that's going to pounce on us, so wanting to keep us safe. Then if we're not actually looking after our visualizations and moving them forward into positivity, then they generally are in a negative form. And so therefore you find that you don't get very far in life, as in you just plod along and you get to the end of your life and wonder, what happened? I thought I was going to be someone, because inside we've all got this deep inner sense that that there's something more for us, this deep desire. And so if we don't move into the mind creating a better future for ourselves, then that deep inner sense we get to the end of our life and go, why didn't I listen to that? Why didn't I be more proactive with that? So the next one is past life regression. And as I said, I did 7 years intense past life regression, and then I started working as a modality when I was working with people. I actually took the hat off because I had been doing it for so long that I didn't think much of it. It wasn't until, so I went just into energetic healing, where I was clearing people with energy, and helping them with tools that they can access for themselves. And then only last year I went up to Brisbane, and as I went up to Brisbane, I saw someone that was doing something similar. He wasn't actually doing past life regression, but as he was doing an example for all of us that were sitting there, my mouth dropped. I thought, oh my gosh, he's actually doing something similar to what I did, that I know like the back of my hand. Why did I drop that? That's so good for, as a service for people, to support people to actually release things. So the main purpose to past life regression is to release blocked energy. So releasing lower vibrational energy and understanding the self often comes in a form of the imagery of a past life. Now, I don't know if everyone does past lives the same way as I do. I've never been to anyone else. I've heard people go through the book, The Journey. I vaguely read it, or, I looked at it and thought, oh yeah, she's doing something that I'm doing. When it first came out, I was already quite intense in past life regression. And so what it does is it looks at, or the way I work is it looks at, I support people to get out of their body, and then you go into a place where you're looking at a block that comes up as the form of a previous life. Now, so I know that there's a few people that do past life regressions, or they've been to someone that it's more like a tarot reading or something like that, where they go, oh, you were a soldier that died in the war or something like that, but they actually don't support the person to shift that block. So in that process, knowing the story doesn't actually help you. In fact, sometimes that can hinder you. When I first started doing past life regressions, we'd get really deep into the story and people loved it. But what would happen is, and it wasn't that bad, but what would happen is then people would go back and tell all their friends and everything, oh, I did this or I did that, and then they're emphasizing the energy and almost bringing it back in. And so I do as little as possible in a regression to clear the energy, and then I've got a process to support people to anchor into this new vibration that they've got now. So the challenge with myself and past life regression is, from my own personal development and processes, past life regression as actually, I tell people, yes, I still do past life regression, but I don't believe in it anymore, which is quite unusual, right? However, the reason I don't believe it is because you get to a certain point where you realise that, good morning, Manisha and Roberta, you get to a certain point where you realise that past means that you're still in linear time. But when you understand that we're all in the oneness and the now, then it's a different story. And I'm going to share that with you, which I've never shared before, something that's actually just shifted for me over the weekend, a realisation that I want to share with you today. So quantum jumping is something that not many people have heard of. Has anyone heard or experienced quantum jumping on any of the platforms? If you have, just comment below and let me know. And even past life regression. Some people don't actually have never experienced that before. So if that's new to you, put it into the comments as well. I've got the fire on, and it's causing me to. Diane says, heard from you last week. Excellent. My mum called it hippie claptrap and put it down to drugs in the 70s. So true, right? Because there was a lot of people doing this sort of stuff in the 70s, and you know, it was seen as something bizarre. In fact, when I first started the journey sessions, that's really interesting, Christy. It'd be interesting to see how you went, or how you found them. When I first started doing past life regression, and I was a little bit new to it, I was getting a handle on it, but I'd come to Sydney and all of my brother's friends poo-hooed it. They're very science buff, very much into, you know, the mind and, you know, NASA and all of those things, and they were sort of laughing at me. They're 7 years older than me, and I was only young, and they were sort of having a bit of a laugh at me at a party. And I was trying to defend myself, which I don't do anymore, but at the time I was trying to defend myself. Hey, Brad, how are you going? And so at this party, one of them, I said something, and one of them replied back, and I said, well, I'll take you through a process if you want, right? And it sort of took us both back, because I didn't expect myself to say it. Anyway, I took him through this process, and he became a surfer way back in the 70s, which is very interesting. I'll tell you more about this in a minute. But he ended up, as a surfer, being into drugs, and he'd gone into this house to get high, found some dealer in there, and shot up. And in the process of the session, I felt him, and he felt himself lift out of his body, because he was high from these drugs, right? And so we went through the process. I brought him back into his body. He got up, and as soon as he got up, he looked at me and he said, I'm not a drug addict, and blah, blah, blah. And it actually changed our relationship, because he was furious that something had happened outside of his control. And so that was a really interesting part of my training, or my teaching of how these things work, that, you know, even people that didn't really believe in it had some experience. So it was very interesting. So quantum jumping, I've digressed, but quantum jumping, the main purpose is to jump into an alternative dimension and visit other aspects of ourselves, right? So the reason being is that when you do quantum jumping, and I personally have, not to my knowledge, consciously chosen to quantum jump. However, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow aspects of myself, as I've done a lot of healing, have come back in, because one of the main purposes of jumping is to discover parts of yourself that might know something that you don't. So, for example, quantum jumping, I've read books where people do quantum jumping to discover how to be an amazing photographer. So they go in, they find the aspect of themselves that knows photography, and then they bring that knowledge back with them and they can do photography. Just as a quick example. So the main experience is to learn a new skill, but to become more whole. And so this sort of ties in with the next one, which I'll go straight into, which is multidimensional healing. And so it's based on the fact that, I'm just going to see what the chat says. They're studying and taking exams. Yeah, I think I did this at uni when studying and taking exams. Absolutely, Diane. You can do it without actually... help me to speak Spanish. You can. It depends on. I've never really played with it, Sandra. Good morning. But I've never really played with it. But I have heard people that can actually do it properly have that experience of coming back and being able to speak Spanish fluently. And like the guy that read the book that I was reading. Went and did all of these amazing things and became quite functional with a whole heap of modalities and different artistic expressions. So, yeah, so maybe it can. If you can find someone that can help you quantum jump, then let me know. But multidimensional healing is what I've actually realized is, good morning, Tam, multidimensional healing is, on the weekend, I actually realized that is more of what I am doing than past life regressions, because I've been saying past life regressions for a long time, and then I say, but I don't believe in past lives anymore. And so I had a conversation with a friend who's a beautiful healer on the weekend, and as we were talking, she picked up some stuff about what I'm going to be doing in the future, and through that process, multidimensional healing came to me, because I believe that we are an aspect of source energy, whether that be God, universe, source energy, whatever your language is around that. That's what I believe. We are a holographic particle of the whole. So we have the opportunity to be way, way, way bigger in our dynamics than where we are at the moment. You know, even in the Bible, Jesus said, you will do greater works than I and more. Or you will do great works like I and more, whatever he said in that, the way he said it. But what he was talking about was that we have the capacity to shine our light, and light is particles of consciousness, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, particles of pure vibration, and it has lots of information in it. And we have the ability to have more and more of that here on earth if we mingle with that higher part of ourselves and bring that energy down here. So what I do when I help people with past life regressions or energy work is that we're looking at the blocks that are in that holographic expression, something that's holding us back, a pattern that shouldn't be there or is not serving us. And we look at what that is, and we shift the vibration so that it then transforms into the light that we should be. And so sometimes that can involve past life regressions. sometimes that could be a similar thing to quantum jumping, as in through that process you discover more of who you are, and so all of a sudden you've got more access to things that you didn't realize, or more knowledge or more wisdom or whatever. But it also involves soul retrievals, particles of yourself coming back into your holographic expression. And so the reason I brought this up is because I was telling the lady about how one of my past lives that I had was I was a monkey man, and I was swinging through the trees, and I fell down into the mud. Now, this might be a bit intense for some people, so if it is, close your ears. But I started bleeding, so I think I was I say monkey man, but I was a woman. Started bleeding all this blood out. Grabbed the mud and the blood and put it all over my body, jumped into a river, a freshwater river, and became a tropical fish. So I was a tropical fish in fresh water, dove down to the bottom, swam down to the bottom, found a treasure chest, opened the treasure chest, and picked up, I grew human arms as a fish, picked up a crystal and swallowed the crystal. And as me physically, as I'm having this vision or regression, as I swallowed it, I felt in my physical body the energy go down through my esophagus, down my body, and clear a part of my uterus that I had no idea was blocked. It wasn't until, you don't know what you don't know, right? So it wasn't until that energy cleared that I realized that it was even blocked in the first place. And so that definitely wasn't a past life. And so as I was explaining this to the woman on the weekend, she was saying all this stuff that channeled through her, and I had come through me that I am doing more multidimensional healing than I am past life regression, because I've never felt comfortable since I've come to the understanding that there is no past, that everything is happening in the now, and that if you're shifting something in your in what's so-called your past, that is actually shifting an energy in you now. When I came to that understanding, I've never felt quite right with the language. And so multidimensional healing is something that you'll start hearing. If you're someone that follows me, or if you're a client of mine, multidimensional healing will be something that you'll hear more of as I develop, because I'm developing just as much as everybody else is developing. So if you're interested in staying in contact, and you're on the webinar and you're watching on your screen, please take a screenshot of that QR code. That will support you to go through into the Spiritual Warrior page. So it's Elizabeth Eleanor, the Spiritual Warrior. A lot of people are watching on the live as well on that particular page. I'm going to be streaming that through to other pages as well. So hello to everyone that's on any of the other pages that we've got on here. But that's going to give you access to whatever I'm doing on those things. So what do you use on your phone to scan the square, please? If you're on your phone, what do you use? You actually go onto your camera. I'm brand new to all of this, right? So you actually go on your camera and you put the photo, like you put that in front of the QR code, and amazing technology, it actually picks up that it's a QR code and Messenger will come up. So it will share Messenger, and you click on it and then it goes through a process for you. So have a bit of fun with that, because it is a bit of fun as you do that. Now, if anyone's on here and wants to know a little bit more, is wondering about any of those modalities, whether it's meditation, visualization, quantum jumping, I'm not really a facilitator of that. So maybe look that up online if it's something that you're interested in. The others, though, definitely if you're someone that wants to clear some of the old story, you've got something going on that you just can't shift. You know, you've got something that you know there's more to you. You know there's way more to you than what meets the eye. There's a deep burning desire in you to find your true self. Then I'm giving out 30-minute discussions or sessions with people that are complimentary. I give out a couple of them a month. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, put yes please in the chat below, and we'll get onto you and send you the link so that you can book in and we can have a personal discussion about what it is that you feel you need to shift in that process. So